Hey guys, I'm bringing you guys another deck profile of Machinas. This is a pure build, and it's honestly a much more controlled variant of Machinas. I think with the Machina control variant, it's honestly much more efficient. It's much more disruptive, and you can get off your combos and basically what you need for your deck much easier than the other profile I had out on my other video. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. First, we're running two Machina citadels. You can run this at 3 if you'd like, but I found 2 to be just good or just enough, and I use that other spot up for another thing in this deck. That way I could just have more consistency with it. And honestly, you could just use the extra spot for anything that you'd like. But you really only need 2 citadels. You can get them out pretty easily by their own effects and by other card effects. So just 2 citadels. Next, we're running the rank 8s. We're going to run 3 Irradiator. This special summons from the grave by destroying 1 card you control. So pretty much if you have this and another card I'm going to get to in a minute, you can get out Citadel pretty easily. You can even special summon itself. It's a very good card to have. This is during your turn only, and it's only from your graveyard. Next, we're running Air Raider. This is during your opponent's turn. You can special summon from the deck. Basically same destruction effect. So pretty much you can bring out whatever you want with this card, whatever you need to in that situation. But you want to pretty much bring out Mega Form with the Radiator's effect, and then this one you don't really have to bring out Mega Form with it, but you could definitely get off a lot better plays with this card just because it's from the deck. This card is a very good card in the deck. I don't see any point in running it at 3. 2 is fine, just because you can use its tribute effect to tribute itself to special summon a Machina monster from the deck. Yeah, that's pretty much all the rank 8s for the deck. Next, we're running 3 Fortresses. I'm running it at 3 just because Mega Form's one effect is that you can special summon itself out if a Machina Fortress is sent from the field to the graveyard. You can special summon itself out and banish the fortress. So that's why I'm running an extra fortress instead of matching. Just because I want to have another fortress to use later on in the game. Next, we're running the rank 4s here. So we got 3 Gear Frame. This is this main searcher of the deck, as opposed to the spell card we're going to get to in a second. This is a very good card to have. It's a union, so you can equip it to any Machina card you need. That way it saves them from being destroyed by whatever. Honestly, I think running it at 3 is perfectly fine. I don't see any point in running it any lower just because it's the massive searcher of the deck. Next, we're running 2 Possess Storage. This special summons a Machina card from your graveyard. Its effects are negated, and that's pretty much all you need to know about that card. It's just a really good card to have. Next, we're running 2 Re-Scavenger. This is the Honest of the deck. This card is a very, very good card. I tried to get my hands on it as soon as I found out about it, and I did, and I was lucky enough to get it. This is basically you want to see this in your hand as often as you can, and you want to see this one basically kind of mid-game whenever you're doing your combos. But this card is very good to have because you can use Citadel's destruction effect and boost it up to 4K or 4,200 if you need it. Basically what you would do is you would use it and then use Citadel's effect and pretty much destroy 90% of the cards on the field with that card. It's non-targeting, so that's pretty good. You can also use it to beat over things, and it's reoccurring, so you can get... Oh, it's not reoccurring, but you can re-get it back to your hand by its own effect. If a Machina monster destroys something by battle, it comes back to the hand. Very good card to have. I'm running it at 2 just because I just want to see it as often as I can. 3 is a little much, just because it could be a bad thing if you draw 2 into the same hand. But that's pretty much it for the Machina cards. Lastly, we're going into the Scrap Engine. Recycler is just very good for getting anything you need to in the graveyard. And the Golem is just basically to get an instant rank link 4 out there. Honestly, I think this deck really needs this variant. Um, you can run the Frame variant if you need to run hand traps and just ignore this completely just because you can search out a lot. But this really gets a lot of things in your graveyard. It's a foolish burial for everything in the deck, other than the dark rank fours. Um, but yeah, I don't see a problem with running the scrap variant in here. Uh, Next we're going to the spells, running 3 Machina redeployment. Very good support card that came out. I wouldn't run it any less just because it searches out 2 Machina cards or monsters that you really need to, and it dumps something to the graveyard. It's really good for the deck. Um, Next we're running 3 trade-in. You're running, I think, 8 rank 8s, so this wouldn't be hard to get off. I would be careful with running this card if you guys feel like there's better options for draw power. Go ahead and play them, but I think this is honestly the best just because you can get things into the graveyard and you can really just kind of plus off of this heavily with this deck. Um, I want to say be careful too with thinning out your hand too much because you really want to try to just keep a consistent board while also keeping a consistent hand at the same time with this deck, because you don't want to just draw into most of these cards because they pretty much become dead. Like right here, 6 dead cards if you draw into it solo, which I've drawn into this solo once, and that's where I learned my lesson. So I'm just giving you guys a heads up now on please be careful with how you're trying to control your field and your hand, because you really just need to have what you need in your hand next turn, because a lot of things in this meta can get around this deck pretty easily. Like Invoked, if you were going against Invoked, you're going to have a very, very difficult time. Next, we are going to talk about this card, Dark Ruler No More. I know this is a very hard second card, but I'm running it in the main deck for the pure reason that if you need this card the next turn after your field just gets completely wiped, you definitely just need to run this card. It can get over a lot of things. Plus, even though they don't take any damage that turn that you use this card, you can still use it and then try to get out Citadel and just get rid of their board, because that will literally clear out their entire board. Like, this card, especially with it being a spell speed 4, this card is definitely needed in this deck. It negates everything, and you just have to use it at the right time in order for it to be effective. So pretty much you want to just go to Dark Ruler No More, try to clear out their field, and then just, I don't know, go into an Abyss Dweller, and then they just can't do much because a lot of decks revolve around the graveyard. Lastly, we're going into the last 2 spell cards, Monster Reborn and Double or Nothing. You can see where this is going with Double or Nothing, but sometimes you just kind of need it to get over a lot of things. Monster Reborn is just a very fantastic extender. You can spell summon anything out with this card. But Double or Nothing, it's like you don't really need it. You can take it out if you'd like, if you don't really like the Utopia Double package. I just running it just because you can make a rank 4 easily, and if you just happen to have that opportunity where you need to go into like something and just beat over it with Utopia Double, then go ahead. But that's pretty much it for the spells. Next, we're going on the traps. We're running 6 traps. We got Machina Overdrive. It's a Pot of Avarice for the deck. It's a special summon. It's honestly a very good card to have. I don't see any issue with running the card. Plus, it's like a little bit of a draw power too. You could just recur everything, even if it's banished, so you can get your fortresses back when they're banished off of Mega Form. And then lastly, we got Solemn Strike. Basically to prevent anything from happening while you're trying to keep a consistent field. I'm running at 3 just because it's just a fairly good card to run at 3. So that's pretty much it for the main deck. And then I'm going to go ahead and get into the extra deck. First, we got Platinum Gadget. Good card to have. I honestly haven't really used it to its full effectiveness before just because I didn't need to, but it's also a really good card to have. Scrap Wyvern because you run the scrap variant. Simple. Utopia Double Utopia. For the Utopia package, you don't have to run it if you don't like to, and you just want to fill this part in with other XYZs or whatever you need to for the extra deck. Abyss Dweller just to stop a lot of decks from trying to use the graveyard. Baguska because honestly you can really hold on to a lot of things with this deck, and you can really just kind of just get rid of problems and prevent problems from happening with Baguska. And then we're running Lieb and Gustav Max. You could honestly really do a lot of damage with Gustav Max. You just do 2k and then going into Lieb after it, and then just swimming over like a few things. I think I won a game before just by doing this one combo. That's it for the extra deck. The reason why it's so little is just because this deck can really just run anything you really want to in the extra deck. That's why I left it open for you guys to decide upon. Like, you can run rank 8s because you make a lot of rank 8s. You can run more lengths if you like. You can run like pretty much anything that you want. You can run Appaloosa. You can run any like generic link fodder. You can run more XYZs if you need to. This deck doesn't run any tuners, so don't think about synchros, please. And no fusions really are needed, but you can really just fill in anything you want with this deck, and you can even like double up on Liebs and Gustav Maxes and stuff. So that's why I left it so little. It's just for you guys to decide upon and just make your own extra deck for it. But I pretty much made this to put this together just to show a like, I guess, a variant of what you need. So please run this. If you don't run it, then that's fine, but you definitely need to run Scrap and then the trains. Lastly, I'm going to talk about other cards that you can think about running in the deck. Infinite Track, honestly, you can do it. This card especially, you can definitely utilize a lot. I need to look into an Infinite Track Machina variant and see how good it is, and play test it and see how I can make it work. Because honestly, I was looking at some Infinite Track stuff and it was looking really good. But I like the pure Machina variant too. It's honestly not that bad. Next is Limiter Removal. This card, I used to run it in the main deck, but I took it out completely because I found it to be more dead than what I needed it to be. Just because anytime I do get out my full board and then I need to beat over everything and just get like game with it, with using limit removal, it just somehow just doesn't go well, and a lot of decks right now just completely obliterate like the idea of limit removal and try to beat over a lot of things. You want to try to have a consistent board while trying to beat over everything and not just go all in at once. But if you guys think that it's a good idea to run limit removal, please go for it. Next we're running. Oh, not running. Sorry. Next is Machina Defense Perimeter. I didn't really want to add this card in, but I'm putting it in like kind of like the side, I guess, like the side thoughts of it, just because it's really not a bad card that came out with the structure deck. I wouldn't really put too much pressure on it. I can go to bed tonight and be fine with not running this card, but if you guys think that it's needed and you've just been running into a lot of more problematic cards that this will plus off of, then go for it. But lastly, we're going to talk about the Cyphering package. I mentioned it earlier. I think this, if you don't want to run the scrap variant, this is definitely a good hand trap to have to make sure that everything you have goes off. I'm going to play test both of them. But the only reason why I'm putting the scrap one in is just because it's a little bit more consistent with trying to get things into your graveyard. But this is definitely a very good package to have if you need it to happen. But that's pretty much it for the deck profile. If you guys have any other thoughts or any other comments, any other opinions, please let me know in the comments. I would love to try to get this deck as competitive as possible, so we can all help each other out by trying to make this deck as efficient and as competitive as possible. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it.